Hey guys, it is Q&A time. I asked you to send through your questions for me to answer, and that is what I'm planning on doing in this video. It might end up being a two-part video because you sent in quite a few questions, and I am also on a limited time frame at the moment. My kids are watching TV, but we have something I need to do in a little while, so I'm going to try and be good about this video and getting it not too rambly. It'll be rambly, like, let's just be honest. I'm going to have to come back and film some more later. But today I'm going to answer your questions, so if you're interested, keep watching. Okay, wow. I got some really good questions from you guys, some different ones that I haven't answered before, so I thought that would be fun to do. Before I go any further, I just wanted to remind you guys that I do have a weekly email that I send out. It's been a little bit more erratic lately just because of the house move and everything, but I'm back in the game, getting things more regular again, and you can find out how to sign up for that down below. I promise I'm not going to spam you and send you a bunch of emails. It's just like once a week kind of thing, and it's just a very informal, chatty email. If I see any like homeschool deals and tips and things like that, I try and put those in there for you, but it's also kind of, I wanted it to be kind of like a coffee date with a friend, you know. So if you want to just feel some, I don't know, encouragement and know that you're not alone, and just have a little bit of real life behind the scenes of my life and how that's going, then go ahead and sign up below. But let me get into these questions. I took a screenshot of them on Instagram. So I've got some on Instagram and then I've got some on YouTube. So we'll start with the Instagram ones. First question is suggestions for making the first day of school special. I'm really not great at these kind of things. I always loved the first day of school as a kid. So I think for my kids in the past, I haven't done anything crazy, but some things that have sort of happened consistently throughout the years is new stationery and pencil cases. Like, I give that all to them on the first day of school. I also do, like, I usually do a nicer breakfast that day, whether it's pancakes or, you know, something like that. And I do try and do like an interview with them because that's really fun to see how they've changed throughout the year. So I ask them the same questions and I just keep those recorded. And then I always take a first day of school picture with them because that's really fun to compare through the years. So that's what we do in our home. I don't do anything outside of that. I'm just not that mom. I'm sure there are moms who have great ideas. So if you do have great ideas, go ahead and leave them in the comments below because I'm sure people will appreciate them. Okay. My husband just texts me and is like, there's so much pollen. Yes, I am like all stuffy, and it's because, one, the wind is blowing like crazy outside, and it has been for the last couple of days, and there's pollen everywhere, like pollen in the puddles, pollen on my car windscreen. Yeah, it's not fun. Anyway, next question is, hey Christine, what helped you the most to cope with all the chaos during the move? So it was chaotic and it was really, really hard, but I think things that helped me were having as much consistency and routine as I could. Obviously, there were a lot of disruptions to our days, and it was hard to be disciplined with school, but honestly, I felt like if we just stopped everything, the wheels would fall off because we didn't know how long the process was going to take. And so I wanted to continue with school until I knew we had like a more definitive timeline, and then I did stop near the end. So I would say that really helped, just having some structure and routine and some predictability, because that really helped me, but it also helped my kids, which inadvertently helps me as well, because, you know, as a mom, you're always concerned about your kiddos. So yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things that helped. And then I would also just say decluttering ahead of time, like putting things away. I packed away as much as I could before we even listed the house, and that just made it easier to clean up when we needed to. Another question, do you continue any routines or group subjects during off weeks or take off completely? So the way we do it is we have 6 weeks on and 1 week off. That's typically what we do. This year's been a little bit different because of us moving house, but that's typically what we do. when we have those off weeks, I don't do anything. By that point, I'm ready for a complete break. I'm ready to sleep in a little in the mornings, let the kids watch more TV than they normally do. Yeah, I don't usually do anything. Over summer, it's a long break over summer, so it's nice to have something, but I've never really done anything super formal. I don't know what I'm going to do this year either, because that time of year, it's just so busy. We have lots and lots of birthdays in October. November, there's not usually as much on, but you've got all the lead up till Christmas, and it's just crazy. And so by that time, like, I'm just ready to be done. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of take it as it comes for that time. I got the question, what was your job pre-kids? I was a registered nurse before I had kids, and I actually really loved it. I really enjoyed the job. Some aspects of it I miss, not enough to want to trade what I'm doing now, but absolutely. I really, really loved learning. I loved meeting different people. It was really fun and fulfilling. But I have no desire to go back, and I don't see me ever going back unless I absolutely had to, mainly because of how terrible our system is over here now. Like, I just don't think it would be fun to be a nurse in New Zealand anymore. And I remember so many people saying to me, like, I was pregnant with Jack, and I wasn't working at the time, but they'd ask, like, what do you do? And I said, I used to be a nurse, and, oh, you'll want to go back to it. And I was like, no, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And everyone was always like, no, you'll want to go back. Like, that'll only last a short time. And I just want to say you were wrong. I like being a stay-at-home mom with my kids. Personally, I prefer it. All right. On average, how long does it take you to edit your YouTube videos? So it depends on the kind of video. If it's like a vlog style, it takes longer. Or if I'm doing like flip throughs and there's like different footage and stuff like that, it takes longer. If it's just like a sit down video like this, and I'm not having to like do lots of cuts and stuff, and I'm not distracted, I can usually get it done in about 30 to 45 minutes. So that's from like raw footage through to having it uploaded to YouTube and scheduled out. Okay, I've said a lot in this video, I'm sorry. Favorite Christian nonfiction books. I don't have a lot to recommend. I'm really, really picky with the books that I recommend that are like specifically Christian. I'm trying to think of the one. Oh my goodness, it's driving me nuts. I can't think of the name of it. I'm going to have to look it up for you. But my favorite all time at the moment is Emma's for Mama, A Rebellion Against Mediocre Motherhood. Loved that book. Like, really, really loved it. It was very biblically sound and just the right combination of encouraging and also like convicting. Like parenting, maybe shepherding a child's heart. I enjoy that one. But there's not like, I like Sally Clarkson's work, but I'm just very careful when it comes to books, and it can be really easy to read somebody's words and like replace God's words with them. Like, it's just something I'm just very careful about. But I would say that Emma's for Mama I really enjoyed. There is another one. Hang on, I'm going to look it up. I just remembered. Okay, I found it. Risen Motherhood. I enjoyed that one. It wasn't like, I didn't enjoy it as much as Emma's for Mama's book, but I did really like that one. It took me a while to get through it. I read it more as a like devotional, but I did enjoy that one. Okay. Did you find the newborn stage challenging? If so, what is your advice for surviving it? I think that the newborn phase is a challenge to anyone unless you have a baby. Like, no, it's just hard. But I do think it is more challenging for some people than it is for others. I think some people cope with sleep deprivation a lot easier. It depends on so many factors because it's sleep and feeding and recovery. Like, there's so much to it. So I would say that I really struggled with the newborn stage with my firstborn because it was just such a shock to the system, and I had a really challenging time feeding him. So it was very hard, and he was not the greatest sleeper. And then it progressively got better with each baby, and I think a lot of that was because I relaxed a lot more. I also knew that it wasn't going to last forever. Like, those really hard nights are not going to be forever. And I just was more confident as a mum. And so I would say survival was just being good at communicating my needs and what I wanted. Like, don't expect people around you, especially your spouse or significant other, to just know what you need. And also recognize that everything is usually better after you've had a decent sleep. Like, take a nap if you can. Ask for help. Don't wait for it to be handed to you. And just have grace. Like, by the time I got to my third, I got so frustrated with my firstborn because people would want to come visit, and like I was newly postpartum, I was exhausted and hormonal, especially when you get like the 3-day blues like hit and your milk's coming in and it's just like you don't want to see anyone, you know. And I was so frustrated when I was a new mom because I felt like I had to entertain people. By the time I got to my third, I was like, look, you're welcome to come around and hold the baby. I'm going to be in my room. Shane will be out there with you. That's my husband. And I made no apologies for that because the reality is I just, you've just given birth. It's a big deal and you need to rest. And so, just be assertive and firm. And you can do that politely. Like, you don't have to be rude about it. But if people get offended, like, they get offended. You have to do what's best for you and your baby. How did you know you were done having children? Asking for a friend. Oh, my goodness. This is old. This might be a long answer. How did I know I was done? I thought for sure I was done after I had my third. In retrospect, I was just tired and burnt out because I had 3 babies like close together. Like the biggest age gap I had between my 3 kids was 2 years. And I was really content with that until I had an unexpected pregnancy 2 years later and a subsequent loss, which I've talked about that here on my channel. You've seen that. And that, honestly, it rocked my world. I did not know. It was really, really hard because I went from like, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant, I don't want to be pregnant, to, okay, this can be exciting, I love this baby, to, I've lost this baby and I'm devastated, all within the span of a week. And it was like, it was very, very hard. And then I was very unsettled about whether or not I wanted to have another baby. I went from like, no, I'm good, to, oh my goodness, I desperately, desperately need to have another baby. Like on and off for probably about 2 years. And I would say it's only this year that I've really felt content with where our family is. And I came to realize that even when you know that you're done, like life circumstances, whatever the reason is that you are done, you're going to grieve it because it's just bittersweet and it's hard to say goodbye to a season in life that is special. I don't actually have any desire to go back to the baby stage again, but I still miss it because it's just, I don't know, it's just something in us that you just love it. And I mean, my mom and I have spoken about this, and she even said something about like hitting menopause, and you have those same feelings of like sadness because it's just a season as a woman and you're saying goodbye to a part of your life. It's just very different. I think when I finally felt like I was done having kids, I felt old, which sounds so silly. Like I'm in my early 30s, but I just did because I was just so used to being the young mom with the baby on my hip, and then I wasn't. And so I don't know that my answer is helpful. I don't know that I ever have felt done completely, but I feel content, if that makes sense. Because I don't know that I'll ever feel that. I think that it's just in me to want to mother and have children. But also the idea now of getting pregnant and the physical ramifications of that is kind of terrifying because it's taken me like years to feel healthy and normal again. But I would always, always be open to loving another child. So it's such a mixed bag. So I'm sorry if that's not a clear answer, but it's about as clear as I can be. Okay, let's see. What are some of your strengths as a homeschool mom? I would say I'm really good at being consistent. I'm really good at like planning and researching. And I am good at doing read alouds. I do those very consistently and I love them, and my kids really enjoy them. What is something that you have learned about yourself since you started homeschooling? that as much as I aspire to be the nature study, Charlotte Mason-esque homeschool mom, that is not who I am. I love aspects of that and I like to draw from that, but the root of it is that I am probably a combination of traditional and eclectic. I like a bit of both, and I like structure and routine, but I also like a bit of flexibility in there too. So yeah, as much as I love the idea of going with the flow and flying by the seat of my pants, it's just not who I am. Okay, what do you do on the days when you just feel so overwhelmed as a mum? That's a big question. The days that I just feel so overwhelmed. I will say that now that my kids are that much older, I don't feel overwhelmed so much by my kids. It does still happen, definitely. Like the noise and the constant little questions from little people or big questions sometimes. But I don't have the same level of overwhelm as I did for my kids when they were babies and toddlers. Now it's more like life and feeling pulled in all directions. Especially with like the house stuff, I felt so guilty. I was like on the phone with all these people all the time and I felt like I was neglecting my kids. That was horrible. So I still get very overwhelmed, but probably not as much as I used to. So things that really help me, if I'm just having a day where everyone's like grumpy and I have like a million things to do and I'm just feeling so overwhelmed, one is I let my husband know so that when he walks through the door and I'm like, grouchy or whatever, the house looks a mess, he understands why, and he's always very gracious about it, so that's helpful. And also, like, I'll say to him, I am just not coping today, like, can you grab dinner? And he'll be like, yes, what else can I do? He's awesome like that. So communicating how I'm feeling, it's not an excuse to be rude and unkind to people, but it can be helpful when, like, I'm not fully there, like my mind's on a million different things. The other thing is that I try and make space in our day. So if we're just really busy and if I'm really struggling, I will try and say no to things or cut things out as much as I possibly can, wherever I can, because I have a tendency to overcommit to projects and things, and then I just get overwhelmed. And so, like, learning to say no to stuff, and then also finding some quiet time in the day. If my kids are really overwhelming me, then everyone goes to their rooms for some quiet time. And it's not a punishment. They're allowed to play quietly in their room. Sometimes even let them play together as long as they can be quiet about it. And it can be for any length of time. Today, I'm going to have my kids do quiet time today because we're home for the day. We don't usually have time a lot in the weeks now because we've got activities. But we're home today, so everyone's going to have quiet time for an hour in the rooms this afternoon. And I don't necessarily have to go and rest myself. I can do projects that I need to do, but it gives me the mental space to just think and decompress. And then I would also just say I write lists. So if my brain is really overwhelmed with things, I will start writing lists. Sometimes that can be even more overwhelming when you see how much work needs to be done. Like when we were moving house, I was just like, this is not helping. There is so much to do and there's no way I'm going to get through it. And try to step back and gain perspective, because absolutely there were things, like there's things that I write down on lists and I'm like, I look back, I'm like, that so did not need to be done, or it could have waited. But I seem to like hyperfixate on stuff and be like, no, we have to get this done. And so, yeah, that can lead to a lot more overwhelm. So I hope that was helpful. I'm just looking at my camera and like the lighting is terrible. So hopefully I can fix it when I edit this. There's the wind, like I said, is blowing like crazy and it's blowing all the clouds over constantly. So, yeah, just fun with the lighting here, guys. Yeah, anyway, I think I'm going to definitely do a part 2 because there's still quite a few questions that I haven't gotten to yet, and I feel like this video is fairly long, but always feel free to drop questions for me down in the comments, and I will either answer them in an upcoming video or just respond to you in the comments directly. Go ahead and subscribe if you are not subscribed already. I will have more homeschool content coming very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread